Global politics, a complex web of interest. The conflict between Russia and Ukraine has taken on a new dimension, with significant implications for global politics. The rare earth minerals at stake have piqued the interest of key players, including the United States and Elon Musk's business interest. US-Russia-Ukraine negotiations. Rare earth minerals. The United States is keen to secure a quick deal between Russia and Ukraine due to their importance for military and electric car resources. Elon Musk's interest. Elon Musk's business interests are also at play, as the rare earth minerals support his operations. US threats and EU concerns. NATO dissolution. If Zelensky does not meet the deal, the United States may dissolve NATO, threatening to withdraw funding for the war, currently 50% supported by the US. EU response. The European Union has taken notice of this threat and is now rushing to form its own bloc, such as the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, to fill the gap left by US withdrawal. Russia's position. Ukraine's NATO status. Russia does not want Ukraine to join NATO, as does US, due to obvious reasons. EU and US interests clash. Zelensky's dilemma. Zelensky now faces a difficult decision, as the interests of the United States and Europe do not align. The EU wants Zelensky to join NATO for security reasons.
Britain will play a leading role, with, if necessary, and together with others, boots on the ground and planes in the air. Mr. Speaker, it is right that Europe do the heavy lifting to support peace on our continent.
Yesterday evening, the UK signed a £2.2 billion loan to provide more military aid to Ukraine, backed not by the British taxpayer, but by the profits from frozen Russian assets. And today I'm announcing a new deal, which allows Ukraine to use £1.6 billion of UK export finance to buy more than 5,000 air defence missiles, which will be made in Belfast, creating jobs in our brilliant defence sector. This will be vital for protecting critical infrastructure now and strengthening Ukraine in securing the peace when it comes.
But this would escalate the war. Conversely, if Ukraine joins NATO, US might pull out of NATO. WW3 looms large. No deal. If no deal is reached, WW3 becomes a very real possibility. Alternative scenarios. EU's alternative bloc. If Zelensky decides not to join NATO, the EU would need to form its own bloc that excludes US involvement. This would require rapid action from Europe. US statistics. The United States is aware of statistics showing that if they break ties with Europe, Europe will suffer. Russia is playing Africa. He moves pawns to irritate EU. EU has a lot invested in Africa, so does Russia. The EU is accelerating efforts to form alternative blocs, such as a potential NATO-like entity, example NATO. Russian stance. NATO opposition. Russia unequivocally opposes Ukraine joining NATO due to strategic and geopolitical reasons. Zelensky's dilemma. Deal terms. The peace deal hinges on Zelensky's refusal to join NATO, which would ostensibly end the war. However, this conflicts with the EU's desire for Ukraine's NATO membership for enhanced security. Security versus peace. The EU views security as the core motivation behind the conflict, complicating Zelensky's decision-making process. Potential outcomes. WW3 risk. Failure to reach a deal could escalate tensions to the brink of WW3. NATO alternatives. If Zelensky joins NATO, Trump's threat to dissolve NATO implies Ukraine would likely align with a new EU bloc excluding US influence, necessitating rapid EU action to form such an entity. US strategic awareness. Economic impact. The US understands that severing ties with Europe would lead to significant economic and strategic repercussions for Europe.
So It's not a question of alignment. I'm aligned with the world. I want to get the thing set. I'm aligned with Europe. I want to see if we can get this thing done. You want me to be tough? I could be tougher than any human being you've ever seen. I'd be so tough. But you're never going to get a deal that way. So that's the way it goes. All right, one more question. Yeah, please.
The Americans have defended it. I'm quoting. The president has been clear that he is focused on peace. We need our partners to be committed to that goal as well. We are pausing and reviewing our aid to ensure that it is contributing to a solution. It's basically a pressure tactic. Zelensky has refused to sue for peace with Russia, so Trump is putting pressure on him. His endgame is quite obvious. He wants Zelensky to come to the negotiating table. And if he doesn't, Trump wants to find someone who will. He says Zelensky may not be around for long.
I just think he should be more appreciative because this country has stuck with them through thick and thin. Now, maybe somebody doesn't want to make a deal. And if somebody doesn't want to make a deal, I think that person won't be around very long. That person will not be listened to very long because I believe that Russia wants to make a deal.
Russia is playing Africa. Africa must not trust Russia. He moves pawns to irritate EU. EU has a lot invested in Africa, so does Russia. All of this for material gain. President Trump's strategic perspective, business over borders. Key points for President Trump. Business orientation. Economic focus. President Trump views international relations primarily through an economic lens. His primary goal is to enhance and sustain the U.S. economy, viewing global conflicts as obstacles to be navigated or leveraged for economic gain. Disposal of EU dependency. Trump sees the European Union, EU, as potentially burdensome and less aligned with U.S. economic interest. He believes the EU holds cards that could be redistributed for better business outcomes for the U.S. Strategic moves. Timely action. Unlike previous administrations that might have delayed decisive actions, Trump is taking proactive steps now to secure advantageous positions for the U.S. This urgency stems from his belief that waiting could weaken American leverage. Resource allocation. Trump understands that the U.S. does not need the EU to thrive economically. His administration has conducted detailed calculations showing that shifting resources and alliances could yield greater benefits domestically. Zelensky's threat and response. U.S.-Ukraine dynamics. Zelensky's stance and perceived ultimatum that the U.S. has limited time to act have heightened tensions. Trump views this as an opportunity to assert stronger control over strategic alliances and resources. Pressure points. The ongoing negotiations and threats from Zelensky have aggravated Trump's administration, pushing them towards more assertive measures to protect and enhance U.S. interests without unnecessary entanglements with the EU. Public perception and support. Public benefit. If Americans understand Trump's strategic vision, they might appreciate his moves towards securing a stable lifestyle and economic prosperity without prolonged geopolitical entanglements that could hinder U.S. interest. National stability. Trump believes that by making these moves now, he is safeguarding the stability and prosperity that many Americans currently enjoy, positioning the U.S. as a robust, independent actor on the global stage. For President Trump, this is business as usual. Trump is what we consider as a businessman with the biggest weapons. Trump is not in business to waste valuable lives, he is in business to improve U.S. economy. He realizes EU is disposable and bad for business. Trump also knows he does not need EU. Trump and its members has done the calculation and seen that they hold the cards, so he is making moves now and not later. If Americans understand Trump's deal, they would be thanking Trump for working towards sustaining the stable lifestyle they currently are privileged to enjoy. Also notice that Zelensky threatened that U.S. time to lose is in the future. This is in fact what sets off Trump and his team in aggravation against Zelensky in the Oval Office.
I will answer.
To come to the Oval Office of the United
answer.
States of America and attack the administration that is trying to
trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
that.
You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on this
position to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly
this.
what
I'm not
You're
dictating.
in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
You
We're
will-
going to feel very
you will
good.
feel influenced.
We're going to feel very good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed
From the
yourself
very-
to be in a
from
very
the
bad
very
position,
beginning
and he
of the
happens
war.
to be right about
From the
it.
very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a good
Brown,
position.
I
You don't
was
have
in
the cards right now. With us, you start
I'm
having
not playing
cards.
cards.
But right now, you
I'm
don't.
very
Yeah, you're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're gambling
I'm the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War III.
What do you
You're
think about?
gambling with
What do you
World
think
War
about?
III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country.
I'm
That's
with
back
all
to
respect to
you.
you.
Far
country.
more than a lot of people said
wearing
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once?
Conclusion. The situation between Russia, Ukraine, and the United States has become increasingly complex. As tensions rise, it is essential to understand the underlying interests and motivations of key players. A resolution to this conflict will require careful consideration of these factors to prevent a larger catastrophe. But the irony of this all is this: US wins and EU falls. But there is more to the story. Look out for next release. Part 2 possibly.